Hi everyone, and welcome to a special episode of The Late Drop presented by Future Fins. So today's episode, you'll see why Future Fins are the standard for big wave surfing. The guest, Conor Maguire, rode one of the biggest waves in Irish history. He was using a set of Future Fins, and which helped with his equipment and made him survive one of the gnarliest waves ridden of all time. So do yourself a favour, when the conditions get heavy, ride Futures. So today's guests, none other than Conor Maguire, Barry Mottershead, and Finn Mullen. These three guys put together a plan during COVID, working with all the resources in their local town to be able to go out and try and surf the biggest waves ever to hit Ireland. They pulled it off safely. They have amazing stories, amazing visuals from their stories, and I just had an incredible time talking to these three guys. It was just incredible. So hope you enjoyed the episode, because I did.
I always get the first wave.
Pretty much it brought me to tears, like the wave was so good.
That's the biggest drop I've ever taken in my life.
And so right there I told myself I needed to just relax and stay calm, that I'm stronger than this.
Awesome. I'm super stoked to be able to have you guys on. Thanks for making the time. As I said to Barry, we're going to have to subtitle this with the Aussie, the Irish, and the South African. So sounds like a bad pub joke, but
thank you for having us on, Jimmy. The pleasure's ours. And I was laughing because all I could think was, all those episodes of Bondi Rescue, where as soon as the Irish people come on, they put the subtitles underneath. So.
Yeah. It's well, lucky I've been around enough Irish to I think I can pull it off. So if I had 5 or 6 beers, I might be able to understand a little bit more. I see Barry popped the beer earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say that the best the more Guinness you drink, the more you understand.
Exactly. So I want to start, and I know you've probably done a million interviews, Conor, and stuff, but I like to go back to before when the storm just pops up. We all start to see it. There's a chance that this superstorm Epsilon comes in, connects with the low pressure, and it creates the superstorm, basically like Hercules was. So what goes through your mind? I'll start with you, Conor, because you surf. You seem to be surfing the wave. So do you start to think, okay, if this is as big as it looks and the conditions are going to be like this, are you because things have changed, right? We live in COVID, so I'm not sure, because I heard Ireland was in lockdown, so there was whispers that you guys mightn't even be able to surf, right? So what's your first chain of thought? Here we go. Here comes a 100-foot swell. Are we allowed to surf? Aren't we? And if we aren't, what protocols do you start sort of going through your mind to even get in the water?
Yeah, I mean, geez, everyone's seen that swell a week out or whatever, and just it was hard to believe those numbers. It's just like this huge black blob that looked like it was just gonna swallow Ireland up, and we were just looking at this thing I couldn't believe my eyes. We were just calling each other going, fuck, is this gonna be real? Or because there's been a few different swells back in the day, like Hercules were in 2015, and that thing, that was like a mega swell. I mean, it had a lot of power behind it. It kind of destroyed some towns here and stuff, but the waves at Mullaghmore, the angle of the swell was a little bit off, so the waves and the period was huge, I think. So the waves ended up being not very consistent, and there wasn't that many waves in sets or even in the whole day. So I mean, when we seen the size of the swell and that period, we had our doubts. Well, I did anyway. I think the lads probably did too. Like a 20-second period in Ireland, although in Hawaii or Australia or something, that means it's going to be triple the size. I mean, here sometimes you don't even know if the waves are going to show up on a swell with that much length behind it. But yeah, I mean, leading up to it, it was probably lining up to be one of the on paper. And just Ireland being Ireland, how fickle it is, how changeable the conditions are. We didn't really personally believe it until the morning of. And yeah, just to touch on the fact that you said that it was during a national lockdown and we weren't sure or not. I think just having Finn involved in that process was essential to us being able to catch the waves of our lives and see Mullaghmore ever been. I think Barry's been surfing there since the beginning. He could probably give a little more insight into how just like how big that swell was, or if he's ever really seen it.
Yeah, I know Barry is, I know you love your forecasting and you take that seriously. I remember hounding you forever before I came over, and sorry about that, but who contacts each other first in the threesome that you guys have? Like who contacts each other first and go, hey, like, because I know Europe too. Europe looks good, looks epic, and then you wake up in the morning and then it's like, what the fuck happened? Like it vanished, or it's onshore, it's completely different. I mean, I've done trips to Nazaré where it's meant to be insane for a week in Portugal, and you get there and I didn't even surf. So I get it, but you guys are lucky enough, you live in the area, you're not traveling, so it's like, hey, we can wait. We're going to be here no matter what. So, but who's the guy that goes, hey guys, like we need to start to really put a plan in place in case this thing does come true, or even if it doesn't, but we're going to be ready just in case?
It's a funny one. Like normally, you're seeing him like a week out, and then you're calling each other and going, wow, look at this thing on Wednesday or whenever it may be. This one was so different because of COVID. We were like, wow, look at that one, but I don't think we're going to be able to surf it. And it was a really strange lead up, the strangest lead up I can imagine.
Was it nearly better? Was it nearly like a relief? It's nearly like you're not stressing because you know for sure you mightn't surf it. Like, is it sort of in a way make you guys a little bit more relaxed, or is it the opposite?
I don't know. Like they're always like mess with my head in the lead up. I'm like toing and froing in my head. I don't know really whether I'm coming or going until I'm out there in the channel. This one, I mean, put it this way, after the event, I've sat in my house for a week and just try to process everything. Because I'm like one of those guys who, like, Dylan the other day was like, hey, you remember that swell in 2018 when I got that kind of like onshore-y big barrel and spat me out at the end? I was like, nope. I don't remember any swells afterwards. I don't remember them, when they were, what happened, nothing. It's like for the moment always. And then this one, I was like, this is the one I want to remember. So I sat down and like banked everything in boxes in my brain so I'll never forget it. It was the lead up to it was crazy, man. It was quite a short lead in. Like we saw it about a week out, but then only about 3 days in. 3 days out. Like, so what had been like Monday, Sunday, something like that. That's when Finn got serious and was like, okay, boys, this is what we got to do. And I suppose Finn can pick up from here.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, Finn, because I did a little research and 19-time Irish national champion, titles in windsurf, SARP, everything. So you seem like you're a good man for the job. So take us through, your role, what you saw, and how you basically sort of put this together and made this happen for the guys.
Yeah, I suppose my sport is one thing, but actually my background, certainly for these kind of roads, is I worked at sea for 19 years, and alongside my seagoing duties. He was also a safety officer on board deep sea vessels. And I've been in the maritime emergency services as a volunteer since I was 17 years old. So, the sport is, I can recognize what the guys are doing and trying to achieve. And I'd just like to, congratulate Conor and Barry on what they pulled off, because I think, it's very easy to get caught up in the images and video, because I'm sure it's much like Nazare or some of the places that you've surfed, Jamie. Those images and video don't really convey in any way that how heavy the situation is at the time and all the moments surrounding it. So hats off to the guys again. But
I just cut you off there for a second. I totally get that, and that's why I wanted to have you guys together, because what the public doesn't understand is this is a team effort. Like, to do something like you guys did is, yes, Conor got the wave, but without Barry and his experience and putting him in the right spot, and without all your experience and delegations to the councils to make this happen, then none of this happens. Or it does happen and something terribly goes wrong, and we aren't sitting here about a make, we're sitting here about a disaster. You know what I mean? That would be even worst case scenario. So that's why it's so cool to have all you guys together and show this role and teamwork, because it's true. These swells come and go, and there's special swells that come and go, like Barry said, and I'm very much like him. Like, you're so intense on the moment and what's happening that you come back and you're sort of drained, and all you want to do is forget about the ocean, and then you sort of just push it away and you don't remember it. And so I get where Barry's coming from when he said he wanted to remember this one, because it will be a special moment in time. And I think it's great for the not only big wave guys watching this or whoever may be watching this to understand what it really, really, really takes to put a mission and plan like this together. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to make that clear, because super important to have an amazing team behind you guys, and you guys obviously kicked it out of the ballpark. So
yeah, I mean, it's that old adage of fail to prepare and prepare to fail. And we are lucky in that in the Irish big wave tow surf movement, we've got the infrastructure of the Irish Tow Surf Rescue Club, which was set up by Paul O'Kane and Peter Conroy, and they've been very proactive in pushing safety within the big wave community in Ireland. And under that, we also have the experience of the Tow Surf Rescue Club has worked on a pretty extreme project prior to this, which is the Red Bull Storm Chase, which is a windsurfing event that takes place in force 10 minimum. But I mean, we've done 2 events in Ireland where we've had gusts, at hurricane force, and the guys have successfully completed those competitions 2 times without any incident. When you see the handling and work ethic that it takes to pull that off, that body of experience definitely helped us in the lead into this. So I mean, whenever we saw this, as we all know, Ireland, Europe, it is fickle, and anything could happen on the day, and that can swing both ways. So like, the swell could turn up, and the swell could be as monstrous as it was. Regardless of that, we just need to have the preparation in place beforehand. And working under COVID, it was very important that we ticked all the boxes. And but before we even had any discussions, it was important that we worked with the relevant authorities, and we had permit to do what we did. So there was good communications there with all the bodies that we needed to work under. And when it comes to the actual putting the plan together and everything, the way I work is it's risk management, it's risk reduction, and those are very established principles outside of surfing. every day in industry, whether it's maritime industry, aviation industry, mining, surgery, these are all really high risk things that take place every day. And over the years, we always have learning points from accidents and tragedies. So it's always an evolving process. And but it was very much taking those principles into the surfing world. And it's a maxim that is used in industry a lot, and that's safety first. So to bring that to a surfing event, it's like there'll always be other waves to surf. Whether 1 foot, 20 foot, whatever, there'll always be another wave. But human life is sacrosanct, and whether that's injury or death, that's something that we have to take as utmost priority, and tops absolutely everything else. And you're just keeping that at the forefront of everybody's minds. So within that, we have a very comprehensive safety plan where you're considering all the scenarios very carefully, and there's an appropriate response at every level. And much like in industry, you don't work to have one backup. You have a primary response, you have a secondary response, you have a tertiary response. In communication, same thing. So for instance, we've got to communicate from land to sea, we've got a UHF net, we've got a VHF net, and then you bring it right down to basics. Okay, let's say all our communications are wiped out for whatever reason. It could be technology failure. Then we go old school. We go face to face. We've got hand directions, because we're lucky in Mullaghmore that we are working relatively close to shore. So it's not a huge transit time from the break back into the harbour where we would do evacuations, or to the shore where we can pass signals face to face. So that's the sort of principle behind the whole thing. It's a very, very considered approach. This isn't like again, it's easy to look at the videos and everything and go like, yee-hi, ride 'em cowboy, but it's not like anyone's throwing Hail Marys out there. The overriding principle of the operation is that everyone is an equal player in it. Okay, there's roles and responsibilities designated, and everyone's very aware of those. But at any time, whether it's the athlete or part of the safety crew or the water patrol, anyone can put their hand up and say, yep, not happy, unsafe, let's fall back. And we look at the situation with fresh eyes. Is it safe to continue? If it isn't, we stop. Can we come up with a contingency measure to mitigate the risk? Those are the sort of that's the sort of ethos that you want permeating through every part of the operation. That's as you said, it is very much a team effort, and it seems an appropriate time to thank the guys, the water patrol, Peter Conroy, Dylan Stott, Finn Cronin, James Monaghan, Nick Todd, and our first aid staff, which was Dr. Roisin Brennan and Michael, our advanced paramedic. And we also had a rotation of paramedics and EMTs and doctors working throughout the 2 days that we ran. And not forgetting, of course, Clem and Conor, who captured the wonderful images, and Gary as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've been following obviously I've met Pete and Dylan when I've been over to Ireland, and they've done a great job. And I was actually firsthand when Ben Player hurt himself that day down at what's that wave called? Riley's? Yeah, and he was laying on the rocks there, and I'm like, dude, you don't look too good. And then we're trying to call Pete, and the helicopter comes in. So I saw firsthand what you guys have done for safety in all the spots over there, and it's really, you guys are really ahead of the curve. It's really cool to see, and you have to be, because mean, everywhere. I remember when we were sitting up the top of Aileen's and looking to the right and going, if you get stuck in there, then the guy that got stuck in there all night, and then now there's like a rescue pack in there in case someone gets pushed in there and has to stay there, and it's awesome. So going back to, it's very easy to see that, you know, Conor got the wave. We saw Barry, but who else was out there, guys? Like how many teams, you know, in the whole overall scheme of things, you guys are putting the plan all together? Safety, skis in the channel. You know, obviously Barry's towing in. On a general day, usually the ski driver is sort of running safety as well, but I'm guessing you guys had other skis in the channel to go in case someone fell early. Was there 3 or 4 or 5 teams towing that day? Just give me more of a rundown of sort of the skis in the water, who was out there, and what the plan was. I mean, I can imagine a lot of guys didn't want to surf just purely because of how freaking big it was. You know what I mean? It's like probably not a lot of people going, hey, put me on the rope first, maybe Conor. But you sort of just take me through that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I suppose going back to sorry, Conor, what I said earlier there about primary, secondary, and tertiary. Water patrol, we weren't solely concerned with Conor's safety, and in that we had 3 skis assigned to safety. So yeah, the plan is, as in the normal tow surfing scenario, the person that does the tow is the first response, because they're following on the wave behind, and they've got a good momentum and eye of what's just happened in the water state at the time. But inside on the break at strategic points, we have the primary, secondary, and tertiary ski for the pickup. So, you know, in effect, you've got four chances to go and get the guy. And again, you know, we're working as a team. So you have to consider the rescuer scenario, because it's not just Conor that we might have to rescue. It could be the person that goes in to get Conor and they get swallowed up by the water, because what you didn't see maybe in the videos that day was the volume of water that was churning around on the inside. It was certainly difficult to navigate, and required the guys to be at the top of their game. And then if for any reason they got caught out, well then, you know, you have all that level of backup there, because you may not just be rescuing the surfer, you may be rescuing the rescuer. And that's just a general emergency services thing, that you don't risk a life to save a life unless you have, you know, the basis on which to save the rescuer's life. You know, so that's, you know, that runs through lifeguarding and whatever you know, emergency services role you take on.
Yeah, cool. Hey Barry, did you have plans to surf that day? Were you sort of just happy to be Mr. Assist, and then if it looked like there was ones you wanted to get? Like, I know you're a pretty calculated dude. You're not just going to go out, and you got a family and a wife and stuff, you know. So what was your mindset? Because to be honest, I think a lot of people wouldn't understand this, that probably sometimes surfing's the easy part. You know, and when you know you got this young man's life in your hands, and you've got to pick the right wave at the right time, you know, and the young bull probably wants the biggest one out there, you know what I mean? So it's sort of like, what was your mindset like heading into that day?
Heading into that day, I was always in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm going to surf. I'm going to get one. Like, it was like, Barry, your job's to drive. And well, actually, now that I'm on the subject, like, I didn't even know if I was driving Conor until the morning. Like, and when we rocked out, like, I've been towing with Conor for years, and we're really good. We've got to that stage, I'm sure you've had it too, where you kind of like don't even talk anymore when you're out there. It's
just
all
nods and winks and head movements, and it's just, you know, you can tell by someone's posturing what they're feeling. Yeah.
Exactly. And we're kind of at that level, and we feel very comfortable together in the water. And in the morning, it was like, cool, are we doing this, Connor? Am I driving you? He was like, yeah, I'd have no one else do it. And I was like, right, sound, let's go. And yeah, I definitely threw my board on. It was in the gunnel all day. We got out there, and yeah, he offered he offered a couple of times throughout the day, but hey man, I've never been more sure of saying no in my life. I don't know, I'm the kind of guy who, like, I need my arm twisted when it's pumping and big. Often guys like, you want one? I'm like, and then they'll be like, you want one? Like 5 minutes there, okay, get me one. And then when I'm on. Like, I'll go get 3 or 4. But that day I was just like, it was so different, man, to a normal day. I was just, I was in a zone where I was like, no, I don't want to break this spell I'm under, or this concentration, like, path I'm on. I can't break it by going and getting away with myself. Like, I'm doing a really good job here, and I just want to keep doing it till the end. And I felt so strongly about not riding one, A, for self-preservation, but B, also just because I knew that, like, any wave I saw was a wave we missed. You know what I mean? So, like, I was like, just be on the rope the whole time, Connor. Be ready to go at any stage. It was like, I mean, we'll get more into the conditions and stuff, but like, it was so otherworldly out there that
Yeah, look, I think it's a great analogy because everyone that's toe surf, no, I mean, it purely is a team sport. For surfing, if you were to tell someone, like, you're super stoked that they got the best wave of the day, generally they'd be lying, but when you're toe surfing and you have a partner, and when you get to a level of what you guys are at, and I've got it with a few people that I've towed with, is that it doesn't matter who gets the wave, because one day the rotation is you're just on sync with the sets and the waves, and other days that you're not. And other days you might have a bad day driving and your buddy's pissed, and you may, and what goes around comes around. And I can see, like, you could have went out and got a medium-sized wave, ate shit, and maybe got a bit hurt or rattled, and then Connor doesn't get that wave. But you get Connor that wave, and you probably are more psyched getting him that wave than you were surfing. I'm sure the adrenaline running through your veins was nearly just as much as Connor's, because seeing your friend get the potential wave, I mean, I'll say it right here, I think it's the wave of that swell, 100 from what I've seen, no doubt. Better, we've seen those waves at Nazaré a million times. There's nothing out of ordinary about those waves, but what happened there, and I want to dive deep into what it looked like out there a bit later, but I'm guessing, Barry, it was an amazing feeling, like, once you got to see what you put him into and him kick out relatively safe, it must have been an epic experience. Yeah,
man, it was unbelievable. It's like, I felt like Schumacher in a race car. Like, I couldn't put a foot wrong, and I just was like,
they call it the flow state. You're in the flow state.
Yeah, I just was amazed that I was, like, sinking with an ocean that looked like that I was able to like, make head nor tail of it. Like, I was amazing myself, and that's why I said no to go on the rope, because I was like, I don't know if anyone else can do this, A, and B, like, I'm just going to keep doing this because I'm somehow nailing it. And guys, every time I pick Connor up in the channel, guys are going, dude, just keep getting those ones. They're the ones. And, it felt amazing. And like I said, like any other swell we've had so far in the last, like, I don't know, 12, 15 years I've been surfing out there, I don't really remember them. This one I've like locked into my brain because it was that special to me, and I didn't even get a wave. So that's how special it was, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. Conor, run me through the morning. You know, you wake up, you're heading down to the hotel there, getting ready. I'm guessing you guys launch the skis in the same zone that you guys always do. You got the same routine. When you first get eyes on it, is it something, you know, is there water pushing up into the boat ramp there like that you've never seen? Like, just give us your sense of like first thoughts. You know, you rock up in the morning, you get eyes on the ocean, you're getting ready. Like, what's different? What's normal? How you feeling?
Yeah, so even I'll give you an example. Like the 2 nights before, I was speaking to a few of the lads throughout the week or whatever, and 2 nights before and my tummy was turning. I was just like, okay, this is possibly going to be the day of my life. And I was shitting myself and I couldn't sleep for hours. I was tossing and turning. I was waking up like 3 or 4 like cold sweats, and then the next day I like didn't have that much sleep. And the next day was the day before the swell, and it was weird. Like I spoke to Barry that night, and we talked things through a little bit, and, you know, just having him talk to me, just to hear his voice and like his take on it all was nice. That was good. It was like getting a little lullaby the night before. It made me sleep. It made me sleep nice and easy. And yeah, I woke up the next day, you know, and fuck, man, I was in a different place. I've never felt so ready for something in my life. I woke up 5 a.m, and I was just so calm, so chilled. Previously, you know, if I seen like a 20-30 foot swell, like swell of the year kind of thing, Mullaghmore, the morning of, even the day of, like when you're out there, I'd be like really scared or whatever. But this morning was different. I was just totally ready. I'd done the preparation. I knew the lads were behind me. I knew there was mates on the cliff watching me. The guys in the channel are the best people in the world that could have been looking after me today. And yeah, I was just like ready to go. I was fully in the zone. Not hyped up, no fucking, you know, bouncing around the road. I was driving into Mullaghmore that morning. It's like the most scenic, like a fairy tale. That headland, amazing. It's just Gold Bay, and it's like a world of its own. You drive in, and the castle is just overlooking everything, and the harbour's right. You're driving past sand dunes and a beautiful beach, and the mountains are in the wingmere. It's like a fairy tale. And harbour, and it was just, man, it was crazy. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. Generally, you know, the biggest days that I've been there, you make a little wave in the corner, but this day there was like 4 foot set. All like, I was like, fuck, I might just surf that left. That looks sick. So yeah, but we ended up like just sitting at the harbour. I had the ski ready to go. I got changed at my house. I had like my vest on, everything ready to go. I checked cartridges 300 times. Yeah, I was super ready, and I just remember seeing these surges coming into the harbour that were just coming right up to the hotel. Like, you've never seen that shit before. That was so scary to see and witness. Just because like you knew how big it was going to be around the corner. I mean, that morning, you know, Jamie, or the tidal country, we have a huge difference in tides here on the springs, but it's a neap tide, so there wasn't much room in the tides. But because of the size of the swell behind it, that energy, it was just surging water up to the hotel. And yeah, that gave me my first indication of how powerful this day was going to be. I didn't go to the headland to check. I was ready to go, you know. I just knew I was going to surf no matter what, and wanted to be going out in dark and be out there for sunrise. And yeah, Finn kind of set me place, and the guru who he is, he outlined that the coastguard would be unable to see a cat in low light from a height. So yeah, just we just waited a bit, had a safety briefing the night before, the morning off, and just headed out there around the corner with fucking guns blazing. But
yeah, it sounds so good. It sounds like like Barry's in the flow state. It's so cool, right? You think that the biggest day, it's like shooting Michael Jordan, shooting that three in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Everything's on the line, and this is your moment to shine. And you want to wake up like feeling 100%. You want your partner to feel good, and Finn's not scared to just go, hey, no, this is what we're going to do. That's what you want from your safety guy. You don't want yes men. You want people that are going to just go, hey, no, settle down, relax, everything's going to be okay. And it just seems like you guys had such a good cohesion that it just all come together perfectly. And so what was it like when I think Barry's going to say something, but I want to get that first vision coming out of the bay around the right, up the point, and you come around and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, because I imagine, like, to me, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, like, I know you guys don't like the big interval you were saying earlier, right? You guys does Mullaghmore like a 16, 17 second more than like a big 20 second? It seems like sometimes the slabs, the swells can nearly like be like a tsunami in a way, like they overrun each other and not even stand up, more just like sort of converge on each other. So, but the one vision I saw of that thing from pulled back we'll get into that later, but the thing was like nearly that had the double thickness back out to sea. It was like, what the hell, nearly like another 30-foot wave behind it pushing on top of it. But that vision going around the corner, sunrise, must have been incredible.
Like, I rolled up there in the dark, and none of these dudes want to look at it ever. Like, they're all on this program where they're like, no, just won't look. We're going to just launch and go. And I'm like, I'm the guy who wants to look. I want to know where I'm going. So I pulled up in the dark, parked on the headland, and I got a little wood fire in the back of my van. I put some wood in there, hung my wetsuit there, dry it, get it warm, booties on the racks, get them warm. And I was like warming all my gear, and my van was running, and I went around to turn the van off, and then I was like, I'll turn my headlights off because my night vision's shot because of the headlights. And I clicked the headlights off, and I was like looking out. It was pre-dawn, it was still pretty much nighttime, and I could see the foam ahead of me. Like, I was parked on this hill here behind me, the same spot, and that foam was like going out to where the wave peaks. And I was like, cool, okay, at least we're not skunked. Like, there's foam all the way out. It's got to be like 15, 20 feet minimum. That's a good thing. And I was sitting there, I watched like maybe three lefts go through, all about 20, 30 feet maybe. It was hard to tell. And then I just saw this thing like 100 meters further out, and it rolled 200 meters wider than all the ones I'd seen already. Like, completely took the channel out. Still was a perfect left, but like double the size. And we had like a WhatsApp group, like a production group for the day that we were all like planning and talking in. I grabbed my phone. I was like, boys, the eagle has landed. I was like, I think I just saw a 60-footer, and it banged it to the group, slid the door closed, and boosted it to the harbor. And I rolled in there, and there was just skis everywhere, guys in face masks, in headlights. It was like, yeah, I just had to stay away, bro. I parked like down the road, and I was like shaking. I was fully shaking, just going like, okay, this is 100%, the swell's here. It's the biggest I've ever seen it. And the craziest thing was the wind was light. Like when I was going around to the side door of my van to go and like light the fire and stuff, there was like no wind. It was like puffing, like this. The crazy thing about this storm is that like, I think Kevin Wallace on Surfline said like the way the epsilon hit that low pressure, it was like adding fuel to a fire. And that happened like way out in Atlantic. So all the actual like the weather happened out there, and we just got the mega swell and whatever like wind was happening over Ireland at that time, which happened to be perfect offshores. We like normally a swell of this size comes with gale force southwest winds, and it's like victory at sea out there. This day was like, wow, bro! It was the day of a lifetime.
Have you guys, on say on the bigger days of previous swells, on those toe swells, like, did you guys think would Mullaghmore, like, when they talk about jaws, like, and getting bigger and bigger, and they, jaws just gets more perfect and perfect the bigger it gets, like it still holds its size. Did you guys have any worry that it being too big would just completely mush it out? Or you guys have studied the reef, you've seen like things where you knew that like even if it gets even bigger than what that was, it's still going to hold its form and be a perfect left?
Yeah, it always holds.
Yeah.
It always holds. Like, it's like the craziest reef. There's a guy who sells pancakes here in the market. He's a cool old French guy. And he dives, and he's dived that reef a lot in the summertime. And he was telling me that it's like if you can imagine like apartment blocks that run parallel to each other, 30-meter walls, 3 meters on top, then it drops to 30 meters, then there's the next one. And there's 3 of them staggered. And generally, I mean, before this swell, no matter what size it's been, it starts breaking at like 10 feet. It's hitting on the same ledge it broke on that day at 60 feet. Or whatever it was, 40, 60, whatever you want to call it. But like, yeah, it's still pinpoint.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so, Conor, when you come around that corner and you finally get eyes, do you see a set straight away? Like as you're coming around, is it flat? Do you have to wait to see it a little bit, or do you just come around and you instantly just go, oh my God, like this is bigger than I've ever seen it?
Yeah, I mean, I instantly knew it was going to be the biggest I'd ever seen it, just by, Barry's reaction on the way out there, and rocking up to the lineup with the lads behind me on the jet skis. I was just focused on trying to risk assess and see what was actually going on, and kind of what line to take and what to do. And yeah, it's kind of it's a bit hazy at the moment, but I just remember Barry being like, yeah, like, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, let's just get out there. We didn't spend a long time looking at it. We just went back out the back and waited for bombs, basically, because they were the safest waves that day. Was the biggest waves of the day, which is like, it's a weird way to put it, but yeah, I mean, the lads will testify that there were probably like 20 footers going underneath us that you wouldn't even see, just these lumps of swell, and they were out, like they were, I don't know, it's not even fair to compare it to chokes because it was that square. It was just a completely unrideable wave, and if you fell on that thing, God knows how deep you would have went. Like Barry said, it was 30 meters off the shelf, and if you got caught in that underwater waterfall, that's it. And then after that, I mean, you're going the whole way to the cliff on a swell like that because of what's behind it and that white water. So yeah, that morning, it was obviously like no other, but yeah, we still just wanted to get out the back and get ready for when bomb came.
So are you sorry, you go back, Baz.
Like Conor was saying, it's pretty hazy on that bit when we arrived. I remember it tack sharp, and sorry to blow your bubble, Jamie, but it wasn't actually that perfect when we rolled around the corner. We came round, and there was this weird like rain to the west, like down over Sligo, and whenever there's fronts coming from that side, it backs the wind to the west. And I remember like coming around, I was like, oh, we're gonna see some bombs, and we got to the channel, and it was like kind of ragged west southwest wind, pretty strong. Like we saw like a couple of 20-footers roll through, and I think in my head I must have forgotten about the 60-footer I saw earlier, but like I was like, oh, it's not that. I remember like looking back at Conor going like, oh, it's not that good, man. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh man, no, this can't be. Like, how can it be cross shore and like not small, but you know what I mean, like not the day of days. And I like mentally, I kind of just like switched off there, and I was like, it's not the one. It's not the one. This sucks. Like in my head, I was like little kid, just like, no, I don't want to play anymore. And like kind of just grabbed the rope and threw it out over the side. And he was like, will we get one? And I was like, really? You want one? And he was like, yeah, let's start, man. Like, all right, cool, let's go. And that's how it began. It was like cross shore and weird for like the first like at least 45 minutes, hour. And that rain slowly moved from Sligo over Mullaghmore, and then it poured, and we sat through like a mega downpour out the back. And then we, like, what often happens there is right after the squall, the wind just drops to nothing. And we were just praying it was going to do that. And yeah, it did exactly that. The wind just like went like back to puffing offshore. You could literally see the texture clean up in like 15 minutes. It went from like if you were paddling, you'd be like getting chip shots into them, you know, off the texture, to just being like oil slick, like Sumatra smooth. It was like ridiculously pumping after like an hour.
And then, so what does is there any other team? Is there any other guys working? No, just you guys running the surf.
Just us out the back. That was always the plan. Finn and the guys were like, cool, one tow team. There was 2 or 3, was it, Finn? Dedicated safety boys in the channel.
Yeah, we actually we were only working on the principle of one tow team. I mean, of course, we were permitted to work within our guidelines, but you never know. Like, you know, it was unlikely that somebody could turn up doing their own thing, considering the COVID restrictions that were in place. But as well as the 3 safety skis that were dedicated in the channel, we also had an additional 2 skis which were assigned to media. And as we do in the storm chase, you know, the working instructions there are that those are media skis while there is not an emergency situation. As soon as an emergency is deemed to exist, those become safety skis as well. So in effect, you know, we actually had 5 skis there, plus Barry out the back, working as part of our team. I would like to pay credit again to Barry and Conor, because watching from shore, there wasn't actually that many rideable waves out there. There was plenty of mutants coming through, but the guys picked off the very few rideable waves that there were. And you know, hats off to Barry especially there, because he was the one with quite a responsibility on his shoulders. And then as soon as Conor lets go of the rope, well, his talent takes over, and the 2 of them together, where they often talk about in sport being in the zone, and it was a prime example of it. And like Barry said, you know, there was a couple couple of things fell in our favour. The weather in Ireland is always a chip shot. Like you can look at all.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at all the forecasts that you want, and there's an old joke that people just they keep looking at all the forecast sites until they find one they want. But I'm always reminded of an old sea captain that I sailed with, and every morning in the north when we were working in the North Sea, the weather would come in on the fax report, and he'd pull it off and look at it, scrumple it up, and put it in the bin. Because in reality, in Northern Europe, the weather forecast is what you see with your two eyes. That's your weather. And like in the morning, it was we'll put it in context for anyone who's not actually there. I mean, we're obviously acclimatized to it, but most normal people wouldn't get out of bed, wouldn't get out of their car. Like it's cold.
I'll tell you a story about that. I flew from Hawaii to Mullaghmore to surf the swell. I got there, jumped out of the car, jumped back in the rental car, rolled the seat down and fell asleep and went to bed and didn't even surf the day I was meant to surf there. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it is freezing, and I honestly felt that day I was so jet lagged, so tired that I felt like I would die. Like if I went out there, I would die because the cold, the wind, being tired, and Mullaghmore is a fucking heavy wave, man. It's if not the heaviest wave in the world, and if you're not acclimatized to that type of weather or the wind, then you're going to suffer, and it's brutal. Yeah, add that wave to the conditions, it's brutal surfing.
Yeah, I mean, cold on its own is debilitating enough without putting in waves of consequence in there, and that's why our safety has to be so tight. That's why we had private ambulances, doctors, advanced paramedics, ENTs. The level of safety has to be right on point, and with we're working within COVID, so we're taking all the precautions of social distancing, masks. We did a lot of the safety briefing online in the nights before, which worked really well, which meant that we didn't have to, we're not spending lots of time face to face. Everybody's aware of the safety plan. We do a quick toolbox meeting before we go out in the morning, but we did as much as we could online. But yeah, as I said, a lot of things fell in our favor that day because in the morning, it was cold. There was weather coming through, gusts of wind. It was predominantly no wind, but there was gusts coming through and with the fronts, heavy rain for a couple of minutes. And then all of a sudden, just as the guys kind of, started towing, everything backed off. Like there was no wind, there was, sun, there was rainbows at one stage. And, that
sounds like Hawaii, mate.
Yeah. And what it meant was that the guys documenting this swell were able to capture these rides because a lot of times in Ireland it's not conducive to filming. Like people are out there getting crazy waves, but you can't shoot from the water whenever there's rain going 90 sideways. So there was a lot of things fell in the favor, but I got to say hats off again to Barry and Conor because they worked together like a dream team there with Barry's helming of the ski and Conor's surfing. It really was a job very well done.
Yeah. Did you ever, Finn, looking from the beach, like when Barry said they turned up and didn't look that great, he was sort of a little bit over it. Were you guys in communication? Like, were you at all thinking about, let's just pull this, like it's not worth it? Or once sort of that squall went through and they decided to go, you're like, okay, we're going to let these guys have a shot at it.
No, because you have to have faith in your team, you know, these things only work if you've got a very strong team around you, and they only work if you've got faith in your team. And the whole principle about these things is dynamic risk assessments. You know, it's is it within your experience? Is it within your ability? Is it safe to do it? And that's something that's, you know, best assessed by the operator who's tasked with it. And yeah, you know, if there's an obvious danger, I'm going to jump in there and, you know, put a halt to it. But like I said, you know, from the outset, we don't want to put pressure on anyone. No one's being forced to do anything on there. And I got to give credit to Red Bull Ireland there, because they were very on board with the principle that we put in place, was that, you know, we could have just easily turned up that day and it could have been not even surfable, and we would have just gone, yeah, today isn't our day. We all go home, regroup for tomorrow. So whenever I see them going and you know, setting off, I'm confident that they've, you know, stuck to our safety plan, stuck to our principles that, you know, you're going to assess, is it within our ability? Is it safe to proceed? And we've got the safety net in place to ensure that they've got a good working environment. So no, I wasn't concerned. I mean, obviously we're all working on a very heightened sensation.
Yeah.
But no, not concerned.
Yeah, it's cool. I was going to say, Conor and Barry too, like it's sometimes when you have other tow teams out there, it's like, obviously you don't want 50 people like at Jaws and stuff back in the day, but sometimes it's nice to have like guys getting waves, you know, and you can like, you can follow that. Like, you're like, okay, that one broke there. Those guys kicked out in the challenge, you know, and there's a 2 or 3 waves behind it, and you can go off what's going on in front of you. But you guys, I mean, what a setting, right? You've like, and I want to get into your mind a little bit, Conor, too, because you said you're in the flow state, but I'm wondering about, like, you know, this is like, it's all for you. There's all these, like, it's just like you've got all these skis. There's no one else towing. Barry, you know, like Barry's going to tow you into whatever you guys want. You know, like, did you feel a little bit of pressure like that at all, or you were so comfortable with what was going on that you're just like, you know what, we're going to go out, we're going to try it. If we get a wave, we do. If we don't, we don't. Like, but I got to imagine when you jumped on that rope for the first time and Barry's like, rah, you're heading out to sea, and you're like going, what are these things like out here? You know, like, it must have been pretty intimidating.
That's a really good question. I mean, a few of the lads, my mates that were on the cliff spotting me, Dave Law and Owen Murphy, you know, they were asking the same thing, if I was nervous or if I felt pressure to whatever. But you know, personally, I was, like I said, I was just completely ready for that day, and I didn't feel to impress anyone else or do it for sponsors or anything like that. I've built up to my whole life surfing, like, or any time it has a sniff of a wave, even if it's howling west winds and the chops beating you in the face and you're lying on your back waiting to get pulled up and you're getting mouthfuls of water straight down the esophagus, you know, still out there. Those are the days Barry loves for some reason. But yeah, I was fully ready. I whatever. Yeah, if you asked me if I was scared at all or anything like that, it was kind of more, you know, I knew the potential, as did the boys, of what Mullaghmore could produce on a size of a swell like that. And I have visualized the line I would take on a wave like that 2, 3, 4, 5,000 times, you know, as a kid growing up. Those are the things you dream of, me anyway. And yeah, I was just totally ready for that time and that moment, and just to have those guys there backing me, it was the perfect opportunity to push myself. And yeah, like I said, I felt zero pressure. It was all for the love, and to have Barry driving me around, you know, it just felt normal. Big factor, I think, is that you know, the guys, friends, I surf with them anytime Mullaghmore is pumping, and I tow with Barry, so everything was very as normal as it could have been, and Barry was just so chilled and so relaxed, and there was sets standing up a kilometre out to sea, feathering in between the two headlands, and Barry just stayed so calm, and he'd look at that thing, and inside I knew he was just going, "Oh fuck, brute." But he was just super calm with me. I just seen his eyes light up, and he was like on the bars, like.
So tell me this. Tell me that wave. That wave wasn't the first wave, was it?
Nah. Nah. Barry picked a few waves. I think I may have rode one out. It's so hazy for me. I just like the clearest picture I have is actually on that wave at that time that you see in the video. But yeah, I had one instance where I remember, you know, I was lining a few waves up, and I remember bottom turning into the M bowl, like holding my line, getting ready for where the kink and when the swell sort of hits that reef, you can see it start to feel out that shot. And yeah, it has a little kink behind that I usually set up. And this thing didn't really do that. I looked and I just seen this thing just avalanche on top. It sent me so deep. My ears instantly started ringing, and underwater I could hear them fizzing. They were just like static. I came to the surface, I pulled my vest, I got up, the ski was there instantly, the boys pulled me. My ears were still ringing, okay, and I couldn't really hear them. I was just nodding like, yeah, let's go again. And yeah, I was just ready for a bigger, better wave. It was all leading, you know, those lines I was taking were all getting me ready for a wave that actually did it properly on the reef.
So Barry, what did those first waves look like? Come in from different like stratosphere out to sea, right? So how do you go about picking, you know, a good wave? What you think is a good wave? Because what you think is a good wave on this swell is different than maybe what a good wave on another swell might look like. Did you just try and were you watching from behind to see what they were doing, or what was your sort of thought process in like that first wave you got him, you know, because it's the first one of the day. You obviously don't want to eat shit straight away. So what was your thought process in trying to just get him a warm-up wave that gets him fired up to go and, you know, get into that rhythm that you guys got into?
Yeah, it's tricky with Conor because he's such a little madman that like often he like kicks out of a crazy proper tube, and I'll come get him and I'm like, hey, how's that? And he's like, oh yeah, it's all right, you know. And then I'm like, oh, am I picking him shitty ones, or was that actually a good one? And that's Conor's reaction to all the good ones so far, you know. So I was kind of like, first and foremost in my head, I was like, biggest waves of the day only. Like we're not going to be the only tow team out here and pick in-betweeners. Like we're here to get the big ones. And if I got to sit there for 4 hours with Conor turning blue on the rope behind me, that's what we're going to do. And that was like number one in my head. I was like, go out the back, find your little zone, and sit there and wait. And don't settle for anything less than the one you want, the one you've visualized and that I knew the swell could produce. You know, like it was beyond anything I'd ever seen. I've seen similar sized days, but with wind over them. And, you know, like where you're sitting in your van looking at it going, oh, that could have been a good one if the wind wasn't gale force sideshore, you know. But like I made notes in my head of where they broke and how they ran and what they would have looked like from the water if I was out there on a ski, stuff like that. And yeah, that day, the Conor's first one, I remember it being like kind of bit of a west one, and it was quite peaky. And I was like, cool, this thing doesn't look too life-threatening. It's like, you know, huge 50 foot drop with like a slopey wall. And it'll be a nice one for him to get his feet in the straps and feel it out. And it was like, whoop, put him in. And it worked a treat. He popped out over the shoulder. Guys were like, yeah, nice one. That was cool. And off we went back out again. And it was a slow day as far as big, perfect ones, you know, like there was lots of like 20, 30 foot ones that went under us, like loads. Like at one point we'd been waiting maybe 45 minutes, an hour. And I was like freaking out, sitting out the back. We were actually talking about like the price of rent. It was so crazy. It was like, it was just like, yeah, I mean, it was lonely out there, bro. It was ominous. Like you're sitting out there, you know, everyone's watching you and your decisions. And it was like, it was lonely. And I could have said like, wow, this is lonely, Conor. Or I could have been like, hey, what's the price of rent? You know? So like, we just started talking about like normal everyday stuff. And like we spoke about it about life. And I was talking about maybe going to Portugal, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly like 45 minutes had passed. And I was like, bro, shit, get on the sled. I got to go in and talk to Dylan. And Dylan was running safety on the inside. And Conor hopped on the sled. We drove in. And I was like, Dylan, where's Dylan? Where's Dylan? Found him. I was like, bro, am I letting like 30-foot bombs go through? Or am I totally kooking this? Or am I like doing the right thing by sitting out there waiting? And he was like, no, you're doing the right thing. Go back and just do what you've been doing the whole time. I was like, okay, Jesus, like back out to sea and back to my spot and just waited. And yeah, there was loads of waves, bro, loads where I was just like, are you ready? And he'd be like, yeah. And then I'd be like, no.
It's so stressful when you're like, should I go? Should I not? And it's just like such a stressful time.
And like for me, the worst case scenario of driving would have been if I'd got him an average one and on the way back out seen like a 60-foot pit go through. And I was not having that happen on my watch. So I just sat out the back and waited and waited and waited and waited. So I only went on the biggest ones.
How many waves until the famous wave? How many waves did you get before that one?
The one. I think maybe you rode like 4 or 5, and the one was like 5 or 6, huh?
Were you gaining confidence, Conor? You know, as you got each wave, that you felt your board felt good. You were feeling good. You guys were going like, were you feeling like flowing, that you were just like, okay, like I'm warmed up enough now. Like if this one comes, I'm good to go.
Pretty much, you know, like I said before, on those ones that I was setting up on, and the wave didn't do exactly what I thought it was going to do, because, you know, Mullaghmore is so unpredictable. But I was just trying to get warmed up and trying to feel it up and see what I could do when the wave alighted. And then, you know, I've spent so much time on the end of the rope behind Barry driving a jet ski that I was just totally comfortable with whatever he put me on. Even when I wiped out, I was like, I knew that was meant to be at that time. That was what was meant to happen, and it was just going to give me confidence for the next wave. So,
and then, so how long till you guys, you know, go out to get your first wave until you see the, you know, Tibet start stacking in the horizon?
The set from Tibet, that came through about 2.5 hours in.
And there'd been nothing like that. There'd been nothing like, you hadn't like sort of missed anything like that one. You could tell that was like substantially a freak set coming?
There was one earlier that it's also like online. It's one that like he makes fairly easy. That one came through before the big one, and it was close but no cigar. You know, like it was a bit west, a bit wally, hell of a big wave. It was actually the only one the whole day where I put him in, and I was like, whoa, I would have liked to have ridden that. That thing, that thing looked fun. Like that, like when I put him in, I like looked down over the edge, and I was like, wow, that looks fun. It just looks like he's like going down a mountain. And I was like, God, I wish that was me. And that was like literally the only wave the whole day where I was like, I would have ridden that.
Yeah. And so that's cool. So let's dive into the wave, right? So you're sitting out there, you're waiting, and then I'm guessing you see it first, Barry, because you're on the ski, right? So take us through from seeing that thing. And let's let Barry take us through to dropping you off onto the wave, and then Connor, you take over actually freaking surfing that thing. And then Dylan can give us his view from watching it on the land after that, going, "Fucking please make this sing, please make this sing."
Yeah, like sitting out there, you know, we'd been out a while. We were kind of like, okay, we've had a couple of good ones, but now it's time to really drop anchor and wait for a proper one. And it was like, there's two types of sets out there. There's west sets and like ones with a bit more north in them. I call them north sets, but technically they can't actually come from the north, but you know what I mean. They're kind of focused more on the end ball, and they're the ones. Like if you're looking to get big barrels, they're the ones. And I was waiting, and the next thing you know, like you're drifting over these things that are literally like liquid mountains the whole day. So like my sense of scale or proportion was totally blown out. Like I didn't really know what I was looking at anymore after a while. Like were they 30 foot, were they 60 foot? Like it was really hard to know. And I was kind of like going through that in my head, going, wow, I wonder how the hell I'm doing this even. And then this thing just broke. Like if I had to drive from where we were sitting at the back of the ledge where I was about to drive him in from, if I had to drive to where that thing broke, it would have been about a 5 to 10 minute jet ski drive.
No,
that's how far out to sea.
No way.
It didn't really like
Just
break, but like it capped, but with intent. You know, like I remember seeing it and going like, Jesus, that's the kind of stuff that's a kind of wave that would sink a ship. That's what went through my head. And I was like, okay, just don't say anything. Like, I was like sitting there, like holding on the handlebars going like, there's like a fine line when you're driving, as I'm sure you know, where you're like, oh my God, here it comes. This is the one, you know. Or you just like play it cool and don't get bucko on the back's heart rate through the roof. And I was like, okay, play this one cool, man. Like this is the biggest lump of water you've seen your whole life, and it's coming right for you. And do not screw this up. Like you got to make sure it's that like if you're going to put him into the second wave of the set, you got to make sure the second wave's the biggest. B, like it would really be bad if you like drop him into a somewhat like 30 footer and then there's like a giant one behind it that rolls over the top of him. So I was kind of just like, I need another look at this thing. I need like a proper vantage point to see, is it number 2 or number 3 or number 4? What the hell's going on here? And I knew like there's no ways he would have seen it. He was like in the water behind me, like just his head sticking out. And I was like, there's no ways Connor's seen what I seen, that thing breaking out there. And then like 10 seconds later, after I just told myself, play it cool, I hear him go, fuck. And I was like, oh, okay, he's definitely seen it. And I just looked around. I looked around at him. I was like, are you ready? And he was like, yeah, I'm ready. And because it happened so far out, we just sat and waited and waited. And I don't know, bro. It was maybe like over a minute. And I the whole time, all I wanted to say to him was like, you're going to do this, bro. You're going to be okay. But I was just like, don't say anything. Just, he's like in his weird little place in his head that he needs to crawl away into to feel good in a situation like this. And just don't talk to him. And like, I turned around and looked at him at one stage, and he just had his eyes closed and he had like the handle in his hands and his eyes were closed and he was just going like just breathing. And I was like, oh my God, this is so hectic.
See, they're the moments you want to remember, like, because no one sees that, no one feels that. You guys are going to have that connection of like that moment forever, and no one can even comprehend. I mean, people have been in that position for sure, but that's such a cool connection that you guys will be drinking pints for the rest of your life going, remember that swell when you were just like, but how many waves were in that set then?
I think there may have been 3, and Biggie was number 2.
Is number 2 generally, do you like one to hit the reef and then sort of draw the water off set number 2 usually the best wave out there?
Yeah, you want the first one, especially on a giant day, you want the first one to break so you can pinpoint where you're driving to, you know? And I was like, cool, let the little 30-footer go. And it went under us, and it kind of like, I could see by the pistons like firing out the back, it was just like eating itself like over the reef. And I'm normally the guy who gambles, you know, out there. If I'm driving, I'm often like to the guys on the rope, like, do you want to gamble on this one? Like, will we gamble? There's a bigger one behind, or do you want to go on this? And 90% of the time I gamble and think the one behind the one I'm looking at is going to be the one, that it's the bigger one. But this thing was so obviously the one that it was just like, let's go, dude.
Can you imagine flying over that one and then not being one behind it?
That was my fear, bro. And I was just like, I don't care what's behind this thing. Like, this is big enough.
Yeah.
And it was north, and more importantly, it was north. And I was like, you're on, Connor. It's time to put your money where your mouth is, boy.
Yeah. That's classic.
I was like, cool, let's leave early. And we were kind of like pointing out to sea, like, you know, like going into the wind like this. And I was like, cool, I got him up early, turned him around. And the swells, when they're that like peak period, they move so quick. Probably like a lot like Jaws, I reckon, like where you got to leave a bit earlier than even what your mind's thinking. And I was like, cool, I'm leaving early on this thing. Like, I'll slow down if I have to place him on the top third rather than play catch up from the get-go. And
whipping it in so fast that he's on his tippy toes, like sketching out. You didn't want that.
Yeah. And I left early, placed him up on like the top third, like I'd been taught, and just drove him wave speed all the way in, which was pretty pinning it, like definitely quicker than a normal day. And we were like approaching where the first one had landed, and I was like, okay, rad, this is it. And then I just saw that really what was going on was I placed him on like, I don't know, size is all relative here, but like, let's say I placed him on like a 40-footer, a third on the top third of it. but there was like a 20-foot low hill in front of it. And the 40-footer was riding up the 20-footer to become a giant double up. And I'd only really like twigged in my mind on the way in that I was like, oh my God, this thing's a giant double up. And like at that time, I was like, I got to look back. I looked back, and it was this mad moment where like I looked him straight in the eyes, and like there was no nod, there was no nothing. It was just like, bro, I'm gonna sling you over this 20-footer. And he just like, he didn't nod, he didn't like nothing. He just like squished his feet into the straps a little bit, and I was like, okay, this is it. And I gassed it as fast as I could, like up the back of the 20-footer, and he like came right to the bottom of the 40-footer. And then when I got onto the top of the 20-footer, I just banked left like and fueled it, like just to put like a pendulum on the rope. And yeah, like the last I saw of him was him letting go at the top of the 20-footer with like a 40-footer right on its ass, like right there. And I peeled, it was crazy, dude. Like I peeled off the 20-footer, which felt like flat water on a day like that. It was like really like just a lump. And I peeled off it and then went up the 40-footer. And when I was kind of going up it going, you better make it over this thing. I knew I was going to make it like up and over safe, but I wanted to get that parting shot, you know, and I wanted to get to the top quick so I could like know I was safe so I could look. And I got up and like it was feathering, and I like hit it, kind of banked off the feather and knew I was over, and I looked down and bro, what I saw, I told him after, like what I saw made me feel sick.
Yeah.
Like it actually like it made me feel ill. Like
yeah,
he was
because
just
you're like, if he falls right now, like fuck, he's dead. Like
yeah,
you know, it's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, I mean the only word that comes to mind with what I saw is abyss.
Yeah.
Like he was going down into the underworld.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it was hectic, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's such a cool story. That's such a great mental story. And now let's start, Conor, with like, I love that analogy that that Barry has of just seeing you like on the rope, sort of just meditating to yourself, imagining just like big breaths, stay calm. I've got this. Basically, I'm imagining that's what's going through your mind. But take us through it, please.
Yeah, like Barry said, and like I said earlier, he was trying to stay calm, and I kind of sensed that from him almost, because he was unusually quiet. You know, he's usually one, like if there's nothing happening, we have a good chat, and yeah, it fell silent, and I just looked out the horizon and seen this fucking crazy wave just cap where I've never seen anything cap before. It was time to go. So yeah, like Barry said, I was just closed my eyes, started breathing and imagining dropping down the face of a wave like that, and I just kind of wanted to get oxygen into my blood and kind of get myself and my body ready for what was to come, just in case, you know, I fell in a bad spot or something like that. And yeah, like Barry said, he got me up early and I was going Mach 10. I've never been going that fast before. I mean, I surfed Nazare on a pretty big day, like a 60-foot plus day, maybe. I don't know. It's so hard with that place. You don't know how big it is, but yeah, it was that day that you see Russell Bjerke. We went over together, and he faded under the peak in front of the cliff and gets So and the power and the speed that the swell was moving that day compared to Mullaghmore was incomparable. Comparison, it was mental. Like Mullaghmore, just the energy behind that wave was next level. And like Barry was in like a pendulum, and I used the rope the speed, make sure it was really tense, and just drop it right when I thought it was time. I just remember like, huge double up, and the thing was crazy, man. It felt like I was just bombing it down a skateboard, but super, super smooth. Like my rail was in, and it felt amazing. It was the best feeling I've ever had. This bump of swell, the thing I compared it to in my head, like I did that wave, is that I was going so fast riding this big open water lump of swell that came from so far away. And it just felt like this moment that I saw years ago in a big wave movie of Brad Gerlach shot from a helicopter. And he's just riding this swell into the boat. Just see it like pulls back out, and that's what it felt like. It was so surreal. The wave felt the reef, and it stood up even further and taller. I just like felt myself accelerate and just set a line, and on bottom turned and had everything fully on rail. And I was literally like, yeah, it's ingrained in my mind forever. Just that feeling of like the whole energy of the ocean behind it, with my rail being the one saving grace. Like it was so crazy just having this tiny bit of fiberglass and foam that between me skipping out or me like pulling it the wave of my life. And
you were saying you had a board, you had a set of future fins, everything felt amazing, and as you're slicing and dicing down this, I don't even want to call it a size. It seems stupid to call it a size because it's just fucking massive. But now a question I wanted to ask halfway through that. Now I know Mullaghmore, it's at a certain size, it's all about the barrel. You want to be getting barreled. Now, are you at all thinking about how deep you are? Should I be deeper in this moment? Or are you just like, you've set your line, that line is what it is. If I get barreled, I get barreled. If I don't, it doesn't matter. Like, what is that creeping into your mind at all? Or I'd like to get that part of like what you were thinking in that moment.
Totally. My dream as a kid is always just to get the biggest barrels I could. And that's just translated into the more and more I push myself in big wave surfing. And at Mullaghmore, it's the place I love most in the world. And for sure, man, like the reason I was out there was to get the biggest barrel I could. It wasn't to get the biggest wave. Like if I wanted the biggest wave, would have went to Nazare or would have surfed it when it was onshore or shoulder hopped. Like I don't really care about that. Is like I said earlier, you can see when the wave hits the reef on the end bowl, like Barry said, those north sets as he describes them, they feel the reef out in such a way that the boils start to bubble up on the inside, and that kind of gives you a gauge of what the barrel is actually going to do and where it's going to break, and you kind of want to position yourself in such a case that you're sort of underneath and a little bit behind those, I guess. And that's kind of what I got a read of coming down the face on that thing as I bottom turned and checked just to slow myself down a little bit on that wave. And the thing just, I couldn't believe how smooth it was. It was big and beautiful and green. And I just stood there really. It was amazing. I kind of had all the time in the world to stand up and just appreciate the whole wave and how beautiful it was. And I felt like that was kind of the best moment I've ever had in surfing, was just standing there. It felt like a minute or two, but it was only obviously. But yeah, I got to take everything in, which is quite rare. Usually, like I don't really remember many of the other waves, or like Barry said, all the swells kind of jumble into one, and as do the waves. You kind of forget about them. But this one, I just got to stand there and fully it all in, and that felt really special.
Did you, when you kicked out, or not kicked out, when you got, let's talk about, I look at the wave as three parts. You see that part where you're dropping in, it's starting to do its thing, it's starting to feel the reef, and this is what trips, because you can't see, the footage and everything from the channel is so, Yeah, it's back to front, right? The barrel's so big that I don't even know at the start. Like it looks like you're not in the barrel, but maybe you were. Like so, as you're coming down, when it starts to feel it, then it looks like you sort of come out of it, and then that thing grows again, and then it chandeliers, and you see all the white water, then you disappear. Then you come out of that section again, and then you hit the end, and then the thing just clamps you right at the end. Like what? Were you aware of where you were like the whole time, or was it just sort of like looking at the channel and where you got to try and get to? Because like, did it feel like you were in the barrel the whole time? Like what? For me, I can't tell. It's just so big and so round that like you could have been. Or I don't know. It's trippy.
For me, I was just like at the start when I was just standing there, I could just see this thing throw over, and I don't know, it's hard to know really. It was just so trippy,
so fast.
And like fuck, it just felt insane. And then I remember seeing the lip sort of come down a little bit, and I kind of readjusted. Like I knew exactly where I was on the wave and what was happening. I was quite aware and in the moment, and I just kind of set a line and hope for the best. And like you said, that thing behind me, I was in complete disbelief and couldn't see anything at all. And I just felt it even through the fucking, I probably had, I would say, about 10 mil of rubber on me between the rubber vest and the pull vest and the 6 mil wetsuit. So I even felt the force through that. And the thing picked me up, and I was just levitating, and it just placed me back down so gently. Like it felt like I fully lifted off the wave. It was so powerful. And then my rail sort of engaged again, and I just like was able to see into the channel and seen this boil in front of me and kind of skipped over it. And I was like, holy shit, I made this thing. And then out of nowhere, this like 20 tons of fucking lip just smacks me in the side and just absolutely nails me. And that's the thing about Mullaghmore, that is a classic example. You think you're all safe and in the clear, and Mullaghmore has a different idea for you.
That's so funny, right? Because I was telling a friend the other day, they're like, oh, how, he made that wave and he just got clipped at the end, and I'm like, just let's put this in perspective. Like what you saw was an 80-foot face wave at takeoff, and at the end you just see and the camera angle's pulled in, right, so it doesn't look as big, but he just got slammed heavily at the end there, because it looks like on the scheme of things at the end when you get clipped it looks small. So take us through what it was like, how big that end section was, and what it felt like to get just clamped at the end.
So Barry will probably tell you as well, like where I came out of that mist on a normal day, that probably, or a normal sized wave, that probably would have been me in the channel. That thing was so big, it almost broke off the end of the reef. It wanted to go the whole way to Bundoran, that thing. I think I probably could have highlined it back to my eyes. But man, I don't know, man, it was crazy. Like I didn't expect to get hit at all. I wasn't prepared. That was the crazy thing. Like I thought I'd made it because I was in that zone and like the safe zone sort of. But like I said, Mullaghmore has a different idea for you, and that thing just absolutely nailed me, sent me super deep, and I got super rattled. I was sore for days. It felt like I got hit by a truck fully. I mean, people say that sometimes and they get heavy wipeouts, but this really felt like someone fucking ran over me. And that thing just blew my strap open off my board.
Yeah, well, that's what those 20-second plus intervals will do. It's a big difference between 16 to 17 when you get into those 20s. It's a whole nother realm. But so Baz, what was it like when you went and picked him up? Like, were you just freaking out? Like, what the, and what was his reaction? Or was he just like, oh yeah, that was a good one, let's go to get another one? Or, you must have been just freaking, right, when you picked him up.
Yeah, I was like, I had a kind of an adventure behind the wave too, bro. I was like, I was riding me, and I was just watching like the pistons shooting out the back, and the plumes off the thing were like pouring rain on me, big drops. And I was like, man, I'm going to slow down and get out of the zone of rain and ride like further back. Like there's like 5 safety guys in the channel that can watch for him. Like I want to get somewhere where I can see. So I slowed down. And as I slowed down, I remember thinking, cool, the first ski I see come over the shoulder is going to tell me success or failure through hand signals. And I was like watching. And then the first ski goes whack up, like launches out the lip, turns full like that, and pins the nose in, and both guys, like, and I was like, what the hell? Like it happened really close, like not really close, but like close enough to me where I was like, wow, that was crazy. And I just kept going. I was like, bigger fish to fry here. And I was like, if there's a wave behind this, I hope those guys can climb quick, because they're going to plug back in and get out of there. And I raced in, and Conor had obviously got smoked on the end section, and I wasn't there to get him. Like the other guys were on the ball way quicker than me. So I think it was Dylan maybe got you and brought you to the channel, and I could see like elation, and I was like, cool, I'm going to just sit back. I'm going to take a back seat here and just let him froth for a while, and I'll talk to him later. And then the ski comes back in, and it was the blue and white one. And I was like, oh, wow, these are the dudes I've seen flying in the air there. I was like, what happened to you guys? And it turns out it was Nick driving, this cool guy from Northern Ireland, and then Conor Flan, the stills photographer, Conor Flanagan, on the back. And I was like, what the hell happened to you guys? And Nick goes, it wasn't me, man. It wasn't me. Flan wouldn't let me leave. He just kept shouting, hold.
Oh, he's trying to get the shot.
And like Flan was just looking into his housing, like like staring into the back of the LCD screen. And I was like, oh no, he's flooded the camera, like smashed the lens or something. And he looked up at me and he was like, oh my God, man, look at this. And like our skis were like 2 meters apart, and he like showed me like that, and I couldn't quite see anything, and I was like, hold on, I was like trying to freaking like dock onto the side of them. And then we got there, cut the engines, and when he showed me, he bumped the dial and it went like all the way to like the very end of the wave. And I was like, wait, flick back. I didn't know how to do it. And he was flick. But it was like too quick for me to see, like each frame. And I was like, and then the only image I have is like that money shot where he's like little mini me in this gigantic maw of a wave. And I was like, wow, Flan, I think that's the best photo you've ever shot, man. And he was like, yeah, like he was just like tripping. And then, I went in, like kind of jumped off of Dylan's ski. I went in and bang, high five. You did it, buddy.
Yeah, that's what a crazy story, what a crazy day. But preparation, man, these things don't happen overnight. Like you said earlier, Conor, like it's like a relationship you have with something, and you've been in love with that place. You've put your time in there, good days, bad days, every day, and I always feel like the people that put their time into places like that and be obsessed with something, like that's what happens. You get that up, and you got to make that opportunity. People get opportunities and don't take it, or they freeze, or they don't perform, or they're not prepared for that day. But you guys put together a perfect plan and executed it basically as good as you possibly could. It's a perfectly ridden wave, apart from a 15-foot end section bowl that's not usually there. You know what I mean? Like you can sort of tell, you sort of come out of like, yes, and then you're like, shit, you duck up, I'm trying to get up under it again. The thing just like crumbles on you, it's like, oh my God.
I mean, on that point, Jamie,
what?
On that point, Like I saw a couple of comments of people going like, "Oh, he's shoulder hopping," blah blah, and I have to point out what no one saw, no one, bar me and Connor, is that end bowl from the takeoff. That was the thing that I saw way out at sea going, that thing would sink a ship. That was the end bowl. And like it swung and swung, and like from the moment he let go of the rope, he saw that thing in the channel. It was like great, man. It was going like ba-boom, ba-boom, like it was like something you would see 100 miles offshore, like open ocean, gigantic swell, but it was like near shore and about to hit a ledge. And that's what he let go on. It was just unbelievable.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you guys have seen it. You've dissected it. You've seen the footage. You've obviously looked at it. And as a surfer, you probably went at, right at the start, like, fuck, could I have been deeper? And I looked at it and I dissected it and I looked at it and went, I don't think you wanted to be one fucking inch back. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and if you're 6 feet in front of that wave, like, who knows? That line may have been different and you may have still got cleaned up. Like, you were just where you were meant to be. Like, that's it, and the keyboard warriors that say you should have been deeper are like, well, fuck you guys. You go and put yourself deeper. You know what I mean? Like, and see how that turns out for you guys. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a perfectly written wave,
One of the funniest things I saw. Well, I'll reiterate what you're saying there, because one of the funniest things I saw, and I'm not on the internet much, I've got a job and wife and 2 kids. One of the funniest things I saw, though, of the images that came out, was somebody had captioned it, could have paddled it, said, the guy who could definitely not have paddled it. And listening to Conor and Barry there, what you don't get to see is how hectic the whole day was. You get that snapshot where somebody's got the video and the images and whatnot, but to have the presence of mind, that calmness to place Conor on that wave, and then for Conor to surf it, you're talking levels of experience, knowledge, and skill that are just honed, over all the time that they've put in out there. It's not something that anyone can just rock up and do. It really was like, if you want to talk about a perfect storm, like the guys' abilities really came in sync there with that wave into that one moment. And what everyone doesn't realize about Mullaghmore is that it is very unpredictable. It isn't like other waves, I would say, around the world, where there's, you kind of know it's going to do this and it's going to do that. Probably the one thing that is constant with Mullaghmore is that you don't know what it's going to do. So when you look at that end bowl, when you're in that end bowl situation in the water, like to be hanging back and going, yeah, I'm going for this, knowing that pretty much 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work out at Mullaghmore, and that's why people get injured here a lot and why the safety has to be so high. So for Conor and Barry to do what they did, you're talking peak level there. It was extremely.
Yeah, well, I think there's moments in your life when you get opportunities, right? And this. And this may be the case, and hopefully it's not because you're a young guy, but this potentially could be the swell of your lifetime, right? Like, and the wave of your lifetime, and to pull it off, to have that chance and to actually get that wave, to get the wave of the day, to be patient, to have the safety plan, to have all that come together, and then to get that wave and to ride it the best of your ability is something special. So I hope you take that in, right? Because you may never get another wave like that. Like, and that's the truth. Like, you may get other experiences like a paddle wave, a next level paddle wave, but who knows in the next what happens in life, so you have moments. I've seen them at Jaws when the El Nino year, and I've come in and gone, fuck, I blew that swell. Like, I may never see another swell like that. I didn't get the wave I was looking for. You know what I mean? And there's lots of people that go through that, like, will I see another swell in my lifetime when I'm, number one, ready, willing, have everything in place to do it? And sometimes the answer might be no, you know what I mean? So I'm stoked that you were able to get that wave when you were ready, when your safety crew was ready, when everything was ready. And make sure you sit down and take that in, Conor, because it's a special wave, man, and special waves do not come around all the time, as you'll know, And so yeah, I'm stoked for you guys, man. I really, really am, and I'm really stoked you guys were able to come on and tell the story. It's fuck, I could just keep talking for 4 hours, but obviously we got shit to do. But I'm going to let you guys finish. I'd love to let you guys finish. Start with Barry. Thank yous, or anything you got to say to finish off the conversation. Barry, go for it.
Wow, put me on the spot there, bro. Just thank you to the Toe Surf Rescue Club for a start. Like, they've been a constant through all these big swells over all the years, and just proper big brothers, helping us in not only in riding big waves, in life, in everything. They're there for anything, and you can always look out and call one of them and talk about anything. And it's very unique. I think we are the only place in the world with like a connection like we have with the Irish Toe Surf Rescue Club, and it's been an amazing thing to be a part of over the years. And also, obviously, to Conor, man, so proud of you. And it's just like, it's something I'll take to the grave. I'll think about this on my deathbed, man. Honestly, it was really an honor to be out there with you, and I'll never forget that view.
That's awesome. Finn, any parting words?
Yeah, I'm just stoked for the guys that it worked out the way they did. Barry showed exceptional seamanship in what he did out there, driving a jet ski. Jet skis are designed to be driven on lakes, with a can of beer in their hand, not down mutant waves in northwest Ireland on a cold day. So that takes in a very special skill set, and Conor, his suffering speaks for himself. It was I hark back to what you said, Jamie. There, I'm a firm believer too. If people's intentions are true, if they're doing the thing for the right reason, it often can come together when you put all the bits in play, and this is a good case of where this happened. I'd like to thank everyone behind the scenes, because I feel a bit like the people making the speeches where they try to thank everybody, but it's impossible because there were so many people behind the scenes that we coordinated with to have the permits to operate that we did. Some of two of the fellas that I forgot to mention were Dave Law and Owen Murphy, who had a very important job on the day. They were the spotters from land, and they're constantly looking, making sure that they've got eyes on Conor and the water patrol team, and indeed any rogue sets that were going to come through and cause a problem for us. So big thanks to them, and of course, we got to thank as well the Irish coastguard, who provided overwatch for us during the operation. We kept them informed at all stages, and you never want to call on those guys, but you're thankful that they're there in the background if you need to. We kept ourselves self-sufficient with an entire medical and safety crew, but nonetheless, anyone who's working frontline emergency services has our greatest respect, and it's agencies that we like to keep good communication and a good working partnership with. So no, hats off again to the boys and their surfing there. Barry is a very accomplished surfer himself. He probably won't tell you that, but he's had some amazing rides out there in Mullaghmore too. So
Yeah.
Conor was in very good hands.
Yeah, cool. All right, Conor, the star of the swell. Final words, buddy. Any final words?
Geez, I should have brought a packet of tissues with me. These are all saying such nice things. I won't get that too often. Cheers. No, I just, like, the lads said it all there, you know, like, thank you so much to everyone involved. Definitely would not have been possible without the help of Finn, Irish Shore Rescue Club, everyone on the land, coastguard, like the emergency services involved, like everything put in place was just phenomenal. And I'm like beyond grateful. I can't even put into words the gratitude I have for everyone that made this day happen. Thank you to mainly, you know, have to thank the locals, like the local people of Mullaghmore and the surrounding area, and all my friends in Bundoran for just having such an amazing response. You know, I haven't had any negativity from my friends or the locals, and everyone's just been buzzing on it, and it's just everyone reacts so positively. But probably the craziest thing of the swell was when we went back out, and I got a few more waves, nothing like that one, but I remember just being like, okay, I'm done. I'm just done with this now. Like, I survived it. I can go back home and drink a beer and chill. And I just remember like putting the board in the gunnel. Barry helped me onto the ski, and we just like hugged each other. We were just sitting out the back and like just hugged for like a minute. We were just like, fuck. Like, it was just so like intense, and that connection was just solidified, and yeah, it meant the world to me. That was
Yeah, mate. Well, hey, look, guys, it's such a rad story, and I'm glad you guys made the time to jump on. And I really wanted to try and get a bigger picture than a generic interview. You know, I thought this was bigger than just obviously kind of surfing the wave. But you know, congratulations to you guys. Congratulations to Irish community, Mullaghmore, everyone involved. Everyone come together to make that you know, piece of history. You know, and it's amazing. So. Thanks for being on the late drop, boys, and I hope to see you guys soon somewhere.